Wednesday, the 12th of April. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's a Wednesday. Let's take a quickly through some of the markets we cover here on From the Across Frontier Africa. Of course, it's the start of the week for a number of markets. On Tuesday, the Nigerian market came in sharply down, roughly 2%, as investors sold off massively on Airtel Africa. The shares plunged 10%. We also saw sell-off on the shares of Transcorp, which is the conglomerate yesterday. Of course, a bit of this sell-off relates to the full year 2022 earnings that have been declared and some dividend being paid within the Nigerian market. But the all-share index fell below the 52,000 index reading, 51,952 on Tuesday, kicking off the week of activities shut off by Monday's Easter Monday holiday. Then you got a BRVM up yesterday. Quite a couple of names like a CFC as well as the Bank of Africa, Burkina Faso, giving the composite index in regional exchange in Cote d'Ivoire up 0.25% back to 200 reading. The Egyptian market continued to pipe on 1.41% after the country reported inflation on Monday, about 32.7%, beating a lot of expectations on the back of devaluations that we've seen in the Egyptian currency. Now that's the highest inflation reading since 2017, but foreign investors are piling in looking at the cheapness of the Egyptian stocks and buying in very furiously, and that helped the EGX 30 to cross the 17,000 reading on Tuesday. The Nairobi stock market down by 0.57%. The South African stock market revved up roughly, standing at the doorstep of 78,000 on the all-share index, up by 1.14% on the first trading day, kicking off the new week that takes you to the end of the week and the first half of the month of April. Let's take it down. Look at some of the cost stories making the headlines. Of course, you got to see a whole lot from the World Bank IMF summit, but Kenya's external debt ballooning by about 344 billion shillings because the weakness of the local currency is impacting the country's fiscal balance sheet. There are issues around payment delays in payment of workers' salaries, government workers' salaries, and whether Kenya has what it takes not to take further loans. President William Ruto and his administration says they will not borrow any single shilling to pay salaries. The NCBA Group, which is one of the biggest financial services in Kenya, says it's buying the remaining 6.58% of its stake in its Tanzanian subsidiary, and that will give it 100% grab of that particular banking unit. The I&M Bank is looking to receive about 385 million shillings dividend from the Mauritius unit, Bank One, that's on the island of Mauritius in the island of the Indian Ocean. And Burundi has secured from the International Monetary Fund about $260 million in aid to recover the economy. Burundi is part of the countries and the Horn of Africa. So we're looking to West Africa and Nigeria, with the World Bank IMF predicting that Nigeria's economic growth will be around 3.2%, not such a movement, around 3.3%, 3.2% for last year, 3.3% for 2022, and will decelerate slightly to 3.0% for 2024. It's all part of the World Economic Outlook report, which was released yesterday at the spring meetings for this year of the World Bank and the IMF in Washington, D.C. In the meantime, today we're expecting the central bank to roll over about 150 billion naira in 3 dated maturities. That will sink overnight money, as well as open buyback rate lending among commercial banks. Yesterday, overnight rate went up to 19% to start the new week, up by about 0.25%. In Ghana, the central bank was able to buy treasury bills, and the investors' appetite was so high. There was an excess of 116 million cedis from what the government went, over a billion cedis that the central bank went to buy in the Ghanaian market. That was despite the yield that is looking very unattractive. But where else do you go? There's little or no alternative. So investors pile into the Ghana's treasury bills. As we see the country's currency, the cedi, recovered slightly from its deep end in the month of March, just behind us. And bilateral creditors are looking to clear the way for Ghana to get that $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Further discussions are expected at this week's spring meetings in Washington. Keep that in mind. Let's get on to look at the Southern African market, with South Africa's economic growth expected to sit at ground zero, 0.1%, according to forecasts yesterday published by the World Bank, IMF, in their latest World Economic Outlook for 2023. The entire sub-Saharan Africa, however, is expected to grow at an estimated 3.6%. South Africa is reeling from the negative impact. First, the Eskom utility crisis. And Janet Yellen, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, sounds a little bit more different from the World Bank, IMF officials as far as the state of the world economy is concerned. But she's optimistic that there's a speedy action on the table to get Zambia and Ghana's debt restructuring talks on the table. Zambia has been waiting for about a year or so to get its debt restructured under President Hichilema, as well as the Ghana in a default territory according to ratings, and its debt discussion also on the table under the G20 framework, with China standing on the side of the table between the talks for Zambia as well as Ghana. In the meantime, MTN of Zambia says it's launched an e-commerce platform with EasyCat. And the listed company, investment company called NMBZ, says it's diversifying and setting up a property division. That company is listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And the government of Zimbabwe's own mining company, Kuvimba Mining House, says it's looking to raise about $50 million for its capital expenditure. Okay, so let's take a few points from Northern Africa, where the World Bank is expecting Morocco's economy to grow about 3.4% on average for 2024, one of the upward revision with a steady economy on the African continent. 3.4% is just a shy of 3.6% for the entire sub-Saharan Africa, according to the latest World Economic Outlook. In the meantime, Commercial International Bank of Egypt says it opens its first branch in Kenya, and that's a handshake from across the north to the largest economy east of the continent. The EFG Hermes of Egypt says it's exiting operations in Oman, shutting down those operations to concentrate further and cut some of its losses within that country. Tunis listed Attijari Leasing is reporting about 6.06% profit increase for full year 2022, while the current food insecurity, according to Moody's new report released on Tuesday, will worsen macroeconomic weakness and social risks around the world, and in particular for developing countries. And those are your details, headlines for your Frontier Opening Bell this Wednesday. Thanks for watching. See you next time.